right, guys, welcome back to the Buck Fever podcast. We are in for a classic one here today. It's just me and Jake, and we're going to do a little bit of a quicker one. Last week's episode got kind of out of hand. We just really got going on some stuff. It was a fun one. It was a lot of good topics. Definitely a good one to listen to, but we were pushing like 2 hours there. So we're going to try and limit this one a little bit. Just go for a half an hour or so, and we really mainly want to just talk about food plots. It's going to be a little ways out before you're really going to see them come to fruition, but a lot of the planning that goes into it, a lot of the work that goes into it up front, you kind of want to be thinking about right now. I mean, we're coming up into July here really quick, and a lot of the plots you're going to want for the fall and the winter, you're going to be planting like in August, and so you kind of got to get ready. You don't want it to sneak up on you. You're going to miss some things, but yeah, Jake, I know you were up there working this past weekend. I know you're doing a bunch of stuff up there. How did that go?
Pretty good. We were mainly just going up there to put up stands, which was a pretty dumb idea considering it was about 95 degrees out by 8:30 in the morning, so that kind of sucked. But the wind picked up later in the day, so made it a lot better, a lot more bearable. I think I drank like 10 bottles of water. It was crazy, but that's what we get. We know better. We've done it too many times that late in the year, and the bugs are horrible. Ticks are everywhere, but we got it done. So, but I also had some extra time, and I figured I'll go disc up some of our old food plots that we plant every year, and I grabbed the tractor with the ripper on it and ripped up 2 new ones, which I've been wanting to do for a while and just never got around to it. These ones they're not really food plots we're going to hunt over. Like, we don't have stands over. Excuse me. These 2 new ones that I just ripped up, they're more so for like, I don't know, just kind of a food source that they can go to, because my plan is to try and plant corn. I know it's super late, but I'm going to try it. Like, usually you want corn in, obviously, for farmers, they're putting it in early May or as soon as the frost thaws out of the ground. But for me, I don't really care. I'm not taking it for crop, obviously. Just going to leave it up all year round, and hopefully my hope is that they'll winter there longer and drop some sheds, or, just kind of feel more comfortable and more willing to stay on our property.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That's a good distinction to make too. When it comes to food plots, there's a lot of different things you can do and a lot of different strategies. They don't all have to be plots you can hunt over. But yeah, it's been brutal for a little while now as far as temperatures and weather conditions out there. I know you were working outside today, just like most other people were, and you could see just fog everywhere, just haze from the fires going on right now, and so it's
Right.
been a little rough out there, anyways. But we just left our tree stands up last year, never took them down, so I don't even know if they're still standing. We got to go check this weekend. I mean, the mice could have got to them, hurricane, who knows? But I don't think that's the best idea either.
No, well, it's just better on the stands. You'll get them to last a lot longer. Like, we've had these for 4 years now, and I mean, you got the occasional rust, which happens when you put them out for 5-6 months out of the year. But taking them down in the winter really helps, so they're not just pounded on with snow and they don't grow into the trees and whatnot. So
Yeah,
really help.
exactly. Right. Yeah, well, so you mentioned you had been looking to get these plots in for a little while now, and I know we've both kind of been talking about it and kind of thinking about how that might be able to improve things. You want to just go in depth a little bit more about like where they're located on your property and like how they set up for you?
Okay. Well, the one I knew I was going to do it. I've been looking down for a while, and then the other one was just kind of on a tractor. It was an old food plot like a long, long time ago before I ever hunted. And I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. That one's closer to a field edge, next to one of our stands. Like, it's a travel area where they'll come through, but like I said, we're not gonna put a stand on that where you can hunt over it. So that one I'm not too promising with it, but you never know. I mean, more food the better. So there's beans all the way around the woods this year, so that's why I want to plant corn. Not that it's really that big of a difference, but more standing corn. If you have standing corn all year, they're going to want to stay there. So that one's kind of just right on the field edge, on the outside of the bedding. But then the other one I put in is like basically slap dab in the middle of all the bedding, like pine trees just surrounding it all over, and it's just boom right in the middle of it. So that one I'm really hoping is just loaded with deer. I might throw a camera in there later in the year once the leaves start falling, if I even get corn to grow. So I mean, I gotta kind of planning on probably getting that in a week or two maybe, just because the sooner the better, obviously, like we were saying. But Wisconsin, well, at least the western part of the state has not got a ton of rain, and it doesn't look super great up there. But so that's why I'm kind of glad our normal food plots aren't in yet either, because they'd be burned up. And also,
Right, for sure. So have you always been doing food plots this heavily? I know these are new ones, but I know you got a bunch of food plots throughout the property. Is this something that kind of has progressed for you guys over the years, or was it something that's been going on, before you were even really involved?
um, I think they might have tried way before I started hunting, and then it just never really had a time. I mean, they all had kids and stuff, so they didn't have the freedom to go up there whenever. Obviously, I have a lot more time and can go up whenever I want, type of thing. And I kind of started it up again, probably mm, 8 years ago, maybe. And then we tried it for like 2 or 3 years, and just no success. Didn't really have them in the best spots. Way too much shade and tree covered, not enough sunlight. So then we kind of stopped, and then I don't know. Then I was probably like 16 or 17 when I could go up there more and drive up there by myself. I really like pushed it a lot harder, and then we've had a lot of success. Shot a good amount of deer off of them, and seen a lot of deer and then using them. Uh, they don't. We have three main ones, and I just added these two other ones, but the three main ones just get annihilated. I mean, they don't grow because the deer eat them so quick. Like they'll only get up 4 or 5 inches, and that's it because the deer just pound them down, which is obviously a good sign. I'd wish it'd grow a little taller, but I've seen like my uncle, he fenced his off a few times with just like rope. I don't know how well that works. I mean, if it just kind of deters them, like, oh man, I don't know if I want to try and go around this or over this, but maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, I know we had talked about that a little bit too. Just trying to fence it off somehow. Who knows? I don't know what's out there really for being able to do that. A lot of that too, though, like you said, is just having an abundance of other food that they can hit, that they're not just gonna destroy those immediately too. But it looks like, so we had originally talked about maybe Eli jumping on the call, and it looks like he's ready now. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna try and call him, and
Yeah, that's fine.
we'll get him on here because I know they do some food plot work too. So we'll get his input. So all right,
Okay.
we'll get you back here in just a second. Let me call Eli. Alrighty, Eli. I hope he's ready right away when we get this going. If he doesn't answer now. There he is. What's
Hello.
up, Eli?
Oh, not much.
We are live. Jake and I are probably about 10 minutes in here. So we got 20 minutes to go, give or take, something like that. He's on hold right now. I'm going to merge the calls, and then we'll be all in one little system here.
Sounds good.
Beautiful. We've had some technological difficulties here, just trying to get this thing started, but that was about as smooth as it could go, trying to get everything hooked up. I think everybody's on here. Can you still hear me, everybody?
Any of them. Yep, I'm here.
Jake's here.
I am also here.
Eli's here. We're perfect. We're literally perfect. So just to kind of bring you back up to speed here, Eli, we've been talking food plots a little bit this episode, mainly because if you're doing them, a lot of the work that you got to put in is going to be happening like right now, pretty quick here, whether it's mowing them down, getting them sprayed, getting them tilled up, planted, all that stuff is going to be kind of happening here pretty quick. I know we've lost out a couple of years where like it just snuck up on us and we get there and it's like, oh, we don't actually have the time to be able to get all this stuff done and planted here, and that's really hurt us sometimes. So we kind of got a good rundown on Jake's food plot situation. What's the food plot status for you and Colby
We have not started doing any work on them yet, but we typically will put in one food plot. There's another area that we've talked about putting a food plot in that we just haven't gotten around to getting it in because it's going to be a little more work intensive. But yeah, probably first or second week of July here, I'll head out and I'll spray everything and kill it off. And then we typically will plant around the last week of July or first week of August for all of our fall plots.
Yeah, so Jake kind of talked about how he's got a mixture of plots. He's got some that are more hunting plots where they've had good success the past couple of years shooting deer off of them. And then this year he's put in a couple plots that are really more just going to be like standing corn just to have tonnage there for the deer to be able to eat and hopefully stick around a little bit later into the season, even into the winter, maybe spend time there where they're going to be shedding their antlers. So what does the mixture look like for you guys? Are you doing more hunting plots, more just having food sources? What's the deal there?
So ours are the one that we put in is more of a hunting plot. It's not really a large enough area to sustain a deer herd once you get later into the winter. So what we're really focused on, and we've talked about how Pat and I both love the early season. We're really focused on the early season when those deer are just hammering on greens to get ready for fall and put some weight on.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to planting, soil can be kind of a big issue. Different properties are going to have different soils, and even the same property, if it's big enough, might have different soils in different ends of it. So we'll go to Jake first here. I know it's something that we've done a little bit more and more recently, the past couple of years, but lime. What's been your plan with lime the past couple of years?
Well, let me backtrack. Where I hunt, it's like basically sand, really, really sandy. And you and I went out there thinking we did the pH testing, right?
Yep.
Whether we did it right or not, I don't know, but I think it was pretty accurate. We were like 6 maybe on the pH scale. One of them was maybe 5, which is pretty cool. I mean, 7 is perfect or what you want, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And so we weren't far off. We've been putting on. I mean, what they call for it's like an absurd amount. Like, was it like 1,300 pounds an acre or something like that? They want you to put on to really get your level up. It's something crazy.
It's something insane. Yeah.
So I mean, we've only been doing. I think we bought like, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds, maybe 2,000 pounds at 50 pounds a bag, and we split that up among 3 plots.
Okay.
I've been talking with some other people, and I don't think they put it on every year. I don't know if we really need to, but we have the last 3 years put it on every single year. Whether or not it helps, I don't know. Like I said, the soil's pretty decent to begin with. We can get stuff to grow. It's just we can't keep the deer out of it, and then not have them eat it right away, type of thing.
Right.
I want to get into the fertilizing it like right after you plant type of stuff. I know you and I talked about it a little bit. We just never got around to really doing it. And I'm sure that we'd see a tremendous increase in growth if we actually did it. So
yeah, for sure. Eli, what do you guys do with lime? Do you use it or no?
We're pretty fortunate down here in the southwestern part of the state. The area where we have our plot down here is old pasture, and it's right next to a bunch of tillable. So there are plenty of nutrients in the ground already, and pH has never been a problem before. So we'd basically just kill it and till it and throw the seed down. Depending on how it's looking, we might put a little bit of fertilizer on it to help it grow. But we really haven't had to do much of that. Now up by Colby's cabin, uh, soil's a little bit different up there, so I know that in the past they've put quite a bit of lime down, just to help correct the pH and get that where it needs to be. But I haven't had to do a ton with that down in this area.
Yeah, that's always nice. When you do use fertilizer, what do you guys use?
I, off the top of my head, can't even tell you right now.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I know. Like, I was looking at it because we've kind of talked about certain seed companies too, and which ones work a little bit better and which ones don't. In our experience, and I was reading the back of some of the little containers, and it looked like 1919 was like kind of the go-to mixture, which it's, when it comes to that sort of stuff, especially for food plots, it's hard because a lot of it the farmers are using, so it's like easier to buy in bulk, but you don't necessarily need bulk because you might only have like a quarter acre plot or something, or a couple of quarter acre plots. Maybe you have a total of an acre, but still, like, to get, you just don't need that much. And sometimes the supplies that you have, the machinery to get it all spread out. Like if it's a mixture you add to water, you might not have a sprayer. Maybe you only have a sprayer, so pellets don't work. I know fertilizer is just something that, like, we just don't have enough experience with, so we kind of struggle to get into it. Then it's just kind of plant it and pray that it's going to work, pray you get enough rain. But I think it's something that going forward here we got to get into more, because I do think it will help for sure. But Eli, what are you guys planting mainly? You talk about greens. What does that mixture look like?
It's typically a brassica mix. Um, so it's got like alfalfa and rape and some turnips and basically just a bunch of big leafy greens. We've put down we planted sugar beets in the past, and those have been dug up. But like I said, the area that we're planting is not that large, so those get ripped out pretty quick once you hit later season. And the neighbors that own property adjoining to us, like, he's got quite a bit of acreage of food plots. So as far as being able to sustain the herd, um, a lot of the deer shift over his direction once the ground freezes up and food gets a little bit harder to come by.
Gotcha. So Jake, besides corn, what are you guys planting out there for your green plots?
On the one side of the road is usually like one plot's fully just like turnips, and the other we'll probably put a mixture of like what Eli was saying. You get the rape and the clover, that kind of stuff in there, and then usually one on the other side of the road down, it's closer to the river, so we'll usually put like peas and oats in there. I don't know, they just seem to like it a lot. It really grows well down there just because that's more black soil down there instead of the sandy. So that one grows pretty well. That's usually what we've been with when we've been using the domain. Last year we used the domain and it worked really well. So I stick with that again this year and get them in there like Eli was saying. End of July usually is when we try to get them in. I know that can be a drought time of the year, kind of hit or miss whether you get rain or not, but that's just when we do it.
Are you usually like looking for rain? Like you're just waiting to see when the forecast is going to call for rain and then try and get it in around that time?
I mean, that's definitely on our radar. We don't necessarily plant around that, but definitely helps. Like if we see maybe the first week in August is going to be way better than the last week in July, and we're free and available, we probably would shift and wait till then, type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what we usually try and do. We try and get it in the rain. Is that your same strategy, Eli?
Yeah, we're a little bit more limited on time, but ideally you can get that seed down and have it rain immediately after. Um, last year we did not have rain for quite a while after we put it in, and it was supposed to rain. We just got like a sprinkle, and then it was like a drought in August. So it took a little bit for that plot to grow, and it didn't come up as thick as it usually would, just because we kind of missed the growing window for those plants. For about 3 weeks, I think it took before stuff actually started to really take off. So,
Okay. So when you talk about like hunting plots, ones that you're going to have a stand over, what are some things people should know about that? Because I know that it's one of the big no-nos to spook deer off of a hunting food plot. That's like one of the best ways to turn deer away from your property completely. Because if they don't feel safe eating, they don't really feel safe much at all. So you kind of have to protect that a little bit. But it can also be a great place to shoot bucks. And I know Jake shot Blade Runner a couple of years back, right on one of the food plots in the heart of the property. So, what's your advice to people as far as hunting plots, Eli?
uh, the biggest things I would say would be number one, know what the wind is going to be doing. Well, for us, it's a mix of wind and thermals. Um, the last thing that you want is for deer to be out on that food plot and smell you. That's a pretty good way to get them to turn nocturnal very quickly. So make sure that you're going to be able to play the wind, and then do not hunt it unless you have the correct wind. Um, the second thing I would say would be pay attention to your access in and out. So knowing that deer are probably going to start feeding right before dark, um, you're probably going to have deer near you if you're hunting that plot. So the biggest thing is, how do you get out of there without being detected? Um, so ours, we have a fence line, uh, and we leave about 8 feet of tall grass um, between the fence and the food plot, and then our tree stand is right up in a. It's actually tucked into a box elder, um, where there's a bunch of branches and leaves around you. So crawling down, with the exception of clanking something on the ladder of the stand, those deer can't see you. And there's usually on the other side of the fence, it's usually corn right up tight to it. And then on the years where it is beans, you just got to be extremely careful, um, and make sure that there's nothing out in that 15 yards of beans before the strip of corn would hit. So we use grass and the corn for cover, to be able to slip out of there. It's pretty much impossible to get out of it once you get later in the season. So those would be my big things. If I had a third point, I would say, um, put if you're going to try to kill something on it, put your food plot somewhere where it's going to be very close to deer bedding, and have it act as sort of a staging area, where that's going to be the first destination that deer hit when they get up out of bed and feed. And then once it's dark, they're going to move out to the bigger egg. So you got to be able to get them there while it's still daylight in order to be able to kill one off of it.
Yeah, those are some good points there. How far off of the plot is your stand?
Uh, the plot comes within about 8 yards of the stand,
Okay.
maybe even 5 yards. Um, but it's roughly 40 yards wide. So uh, the area where the deer are coming out of is usually on the further edge of the plot.
Gotcha. Yep, that makes a lot of sense there. Um, Jake, is there anything off the top of your head that Eli didn't bring up that you've learned from over the years with plots to have some success there?
Mm, no, he covered it, but well, he talks about the getting in and out. Well, when I killed Blade Runner, I didn't think I'd see a deer that night because I broke so many twigs on the way in and just made a bunch of noise. So then last week when I was up there, I took the tractor and I just ripped and dissed and tilled the path all the way back to the field, so it's all dirt. So now it should be quiet as a mouse going in there as long as we keep it maintained, which I think is going to help a lot because it's a risky stand. I like to go after them. I'm pushing my dad and uncles a little more like that. I like to I like to really risk it, and but within a reasonable manner. I
Right.
mean, we're not going in there every single day. Like I said, the wind has to be perfect, and we rarely get an east wind. But when we do, we go in there, and so I ripped that up, and um, it's kind of another big no-no to have the stand right on the plot, or in my case, it's kind of in the plot because it's not a that plot's not a circle. Like it's just a goofy shape. It goes all the way around trees and stuff. It's I don't know a couple. It looks like two figure eights basically, and it's in a pine tree, which is fine. The cover's fine. They don't really see you up there. You're tucked in there. It's pretty high up and it's pretty full. But it's in the plot. Like it goes around you. So I mean, that's some people might think that it's not the right way or the best way to do it, I should say. But like I said, I've been improving the way to get in there, and I think that's going to help a lot this year. It's basically a dirt path you got to walk on. So plus the deer like walking on that, so it makes it easier and makes them want to come in there too, is what we found at least.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, access is huge. I mean, you guys both obviously talked about it. It's something that whether you're going to a food plot stand or any other stand, if you can't get in and out without spooking deer, you're not going to have the greatest chances of success in the hunting woods. It's something that maybe gets overlooked from time to time, but like you said, just taking some of those simple steps now to try and move some of those branches out of the way, like make it just a little bit quieter, a little bit more cover, some of those things. To be thinking about how you can get in and out, because you could have the best stand in the whole world, but if you can't get into it or out of it without scaring those deer away, then you're not really going to see them come back when you're actually in the stand trying to hunt them. So that's definitely good points to add there. I want to get it wrapped up here pretty quick. Maybe one last thing here. We'll start with Eli. When it comes to hunting food plot stands, is this more of a morning venture, afternoon venture, or either or?
Uh, for me, it's strictly afternoon. Um, I will say that with an asterisk. Once once we start getting closer to the rut, uh, end of October, early November, I will hunt on the food plot, and the reason for it is not because I expect to, you know, kill a deer that's out there feeding. Um, the reason that I hunt there is because we also have a 110-gallon water tank dug into the ground, and as soon as those deer bucks start running, that water becomes a huge attractant. It's also an attractant early in the season when things are hot. Um, but a lot of those bucks, you'll see them right in the middle of the day, mid cruise, stop the water tank, take a drink, and then they're back on their way. The other thing that I have out in my food plot is we put a tree koi up there, so you'll get doe that are in and out of there throughout the night, some bucks that are in and out of there throughout the night that are feeding, and it's just natural for them to leave their scent then at the tree koi. So um, once again, you're back into the rut, and I'm not necessarily hunting the food in the morning, but those bucks that are up cruising a little bit later, they're going to go and take a drink and check that scrape, because it turns into a big community scrape where all around that tree koi things are scraped up, and every deer that goes into the plot that time of year is going to hit that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know you did something similar to that, right, Jake?
Yeah, he nailed it. I mean, that's exactly what we do. Don't hunt them in the mornings until the rut because, well, one, anything can happen in the rut, but like we said, like Eli said, we have water on all of ours. And the one has a fake tree, well, homemade tree, just a 4x4 post with put a flag holder on it that you can stick a branch into, and I'll always go in there like end of October, tear it up, put a bunch of scent down, and then this just yeah, like you said, becomes a community scrape, and that food plot's pretty much right in the middle of the woods in between two beddings, so it's just a highway. It gets tore up pretty good, so then you got an even better chance of, especially in the morning. I mean, that's more of a morning. That's when we're gonna hunt them in the morning. Is obviously the rut. And like Eli said, we're not hunting it because they're gonna come in there and feed, but just because they're running like crazy, or coming to get water, and not necessarily even to be in there for food. So
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah, that's some good stuff there, boys. That's I want to try and stick to our half an hour, and I think we're maybe already a minute or two over, but just to kind of summarize things up a little bit. If you're looking to start a new food plot, or you've been doing them for a little while, but maybe they're not turning out the way you thought, and you really want to figure out what's going on, I think for most of us, pretty much the strategy is to make sure it's mowed down decent leading up to it, and then you're probably going to spray to kill everything off. You're going to do that a couple weeks early before you're looking to till it up. So a couple weeks after you mow and spray, then you can get everything tilled up, and then it should be fairly easy to till because you shouldn't have too much tall crap in there. Everything should be short and dead, so you can kind of till it all up pretty easily. And then at that point is when, if you're going to add lime, you add it. You can Google the calculations on it. It is a ridiculous number. You're going to be probably paying thousands of dollars worth of lime for a food plot of any size if you really follow the recommendations. But I think any little bit probably helps. And then so you can add that, and then you're going to be planting. Maybe a week later, give or take, a couple days later, something like that. Try and plant around the rain. Hopefully you get rain within a day or two of planting. That's going to really help to let those seeds germinate and take off the way you need them to. And then you can fertilize kind of at that point, and then maybe even fertilize after 3 or 4 weeks or something, depending upon what the seed calls for. And usually any bag or container of seed that you buy is going to have instructions on that as well. So yeah, how does that sound, guys, as a general summary for planting food plots? That sound about right?
I'd agree.
Yep, sounds good.
Not saying we're experts, but know a little bit.
Know enough to be dangerous, and we've had a little bit of success over the food plots over the years. So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, and we'll be coming at you with more content here throughout the summer, some more how-tos and things of that nature as we get our properties all ready and do our summer deer chores. And we keep saying this, but fall's going to be here before we know it, and hopefully the food plots will be nice and lush at that point, and we'll be hunting over them and having success and bringing that to you guys as well. So really looking forward to this stuff coming up. Just glad we get to keep having these chats. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me tonight, and thank you to everyone who's tuning in right now, listening. We really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you're going to find pretty much all of our content. Got a lot of good stuff on there already, and plenty more to come. And if you're listening elsewhere, we appreciate any 5-star reviews you can give us as well. It helps a ton. So thank you guys, and we will see you guys next time.